Welcome everybody, Kathy Arbour here, and today we're going to be doing some lavender in watercolor and ink. I have Unsplash picture here of a field, so it's looking at close up in and the back of a field. So I thought this would be a good one for showing how to do kind of a blurred out background, but as you get closer your drawings become more defined. And I also have a piece of lavender here. This is from my garden. This one is Summer Love, I think it's called, by Proven Winners. It's a newer one, and they're normally a little bit lighter in color. This is a very dark type of one, and you don't normally see them this dark. I love the dark ones. And you'll see that the leaves are almost have a light tinge, kind of a grayish, it's not really hairy, but there's a gray film over top of their leaves. And you'll find that in pretty well all lavenders. And their stems are fairly stiff, but they're usually about the same color as your leaves, maybe a tad greener as you get up towards the flower part. And the flowers aren't always the exact same. There could be, you can see a section missing here. There could be a bunch of those on the stem, or it could be just a full section. They're all different, so there's no worry about having the flowers exactly the same. As you can see in this one here, they're all different. So there's 1, 2, 3, there's one. Some of them are thicker, some of them are longer. They're all different. So I thought we could do a nice wash of color on this page here. Now this is what we did last week, and this was a peony that I had in my garden. And you can find the photograph of that on my Instagram account, and you're more than welcome to use those photographs for your painting. And then I used a really nice glittery watercolor that was gifted to me by Zandra. That's scraptobeauty.com if you're interested in it, and it's called Sun Gold. So I think I still have some ideas to make some buds and stuff on here. So I'm going to do a new page here. And this was the last Thursday's acrylic painting of a robin with some 4 chicks waiting for mama to feed them in a nest. This was a very simple one too. A little bit of sponge painting and different types of brushwork. So you can check that out for last Thursday's stream. All right. Hey Janet. Sandra, welcome. Hope you're having a good day. I'm just going to be doing a field of lavender, and this is from my garden. This is, I believe, Love or Sweet Love or something like that. It's a new one from Proven Winners. It's a nice dark, and it smells so nice. And I thought that we could do a drawing on this side and then the field over on here. And this is the Lavender Field that I picked the photograph from Unsplash, and that's a royalty-free place that you can get any kind of photograph you're looking for. So if you want to check them out. So I think we'll start off first with drawing our lavender, and then we'll incorporate it into the painting. So this is, I think we'll do probably maybe the whole thing, I don't know. We'll see. I might shorten it a bit so that I can put some of these leaves in. If you want to draw along, I'll zoom you in a little bit because we don't need to be seeing the paint right now. And I'll take you back a little bit. Oh. There. And there, straighten you out a little bit. I think I'll paint it. Awesome. So lavenders, they're all different. The stems are usually fairly straight, but you will get wonky ones like this. So I'm just going to take, this is an HB2 pencil, and I'm going to put it right here beside me so you can see, and I'm just going to make it a little bit shorter. And the stems, I think I will do the leaves first. So I'm going to do these leaves and then make the flower a little bit shorter. So the leaves are all fairly long, and they're pretty much the same shape, so you don't see too much of a difference, and they are parallel to each other. So we have our stem coming up, and the stem's kind of ridged. Now if you want to put that in, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm just going to indicate that with a very fine line. And it pretty well stays the same width all the way up to the flower. So if you want to draw that. And I'll be inking this also, so if you want to ink it first and not draw with a pencil, you're more than welcome to do that too. Do it the way you are comfortable with. Okay, so we have this here. And it comes out. And it does have a center vein in there. It's pretty pronounced. So you can put that in. This is kind of on the side. And then this one here, I'm going to put it down a little bit. And it's over top of this one, the stem. And here's a little bit of perspective in this right here. From what I'm seeing, it's going to look a little different than what you're seeing. So take that in mind when you're looking at what I'm doing. So the perspective means that it's going to look a little fatter and then narrow down quite quickly. So this part of the stem will be hidden by the leaf. And you see how the leaf goes into the stem. And then the vein is actually part of that rib that's in the stem. And it goes up. And this one has a few buds hiding in just the little crevice. And then this leaf goes up here. It's a little, possibly a little bit bigger than the other one. Crosses underneath the stem. And then the rib goes up. It kind of fades as it hits the top part. Okay. And then the flower, I'm going to bring this stem down a little bit. And from what I am seeing, we have kind of little ovals. The stem goes up a bit. And then we have a bunch of ovals again. So they're going on top of each other. And they're all about the same width. So start at the bottom with them. And then just keep adding, kind of like fish scales. You keep adding up. And you're not going to really see a whole lot of stem. It's mostly all bud. You can make some a little thinner, some a little longer. They're all different. But as you're going up, there might be less bloom showing, more just a tight bud. So they might be a little bit shorter as you go up. And then, like so. All right. Now, there is a bit of a shadow I'm seeing, and it's all in here, and I'll do that just with a watercolor. So I have my, these are the, what are they called again? Let's see. Wonder Forest paintbrushes by, I don't think I have a book out here anymore. And they're real nice. I really like them. And I'm going to start, because this is more of a detailed one, I'm probably gonna clean this palette up because I want a fairly nice green without any other color in it. So I'm gonna get rid of this. And I'll bring, do you want to see my palette, or do you want to just see the me painting? Because it will make the view smaller. So it's a really nice, it's not really an olive green, it's more on the blue side. So I'm going to put Hooker's green. I think I'll take my bigger brush to make this since I will be using it. So I'm taking a Hooker's green. Just the painting? Okay. Thanks, Janet. I got Hooker's green, and then I'm going to blue it up a bit, and you can use a little bit of cerulean blue. And then we'll just water it down. So I've got a number 2 here that I'm going to be using because it's a very small area. And I'm going to have a fairly wet area. So take some of that mix and make some lighter mixes with water. Because you want just very, very light. And I'm just going to put a coat of a very pale green. And this is just sketchbook paper. So it's not going to be a really multi-layered painting. Because you can't do that with sketchbook paper. If you're doing it on watercolor paper, then you can do as many layers as you want. I just want to keep this fairly simple for my nature journal. And always remember too, your paint will usually dry a little bit lighter . Hey Tori, good to see ya. Hope you're doing well. So just a base coat of this green. And I'll go over top of this after it's dry with ink. Then, while that's still drying, I'm going to add a little bit of a deeper with the same color, the Hooker's green with a little bit of the cerulean in it. And look at the areas that might be a little darker. So there is a dark strip, and I'm just going to darken a little bit. And not having a complete line. And look at your leaves too. They're a little darker also. I'm just taking some water on my brush and just spreading that. This one's a little bit, but not as much as the other one. maybe on the bottom. I'm just seeing a little bit of difference in color. Now if you're using watercolor paper, you can wet that area and just dab a little bit of this color in certain areas and let it mingle. But because this is scrapbook paper, you can't really do that. Or not scrapbook paper, drawing paper, sketch paper. Now I'm going to leave that. And now these are so simple. Now I'm going to take, this is a very, very royal purple. So it's not on the red side, it's more on the blue side. So I'm going to take a Dioxin Purple. And it's the closest to this certain type of, I think it's called, maybe it's Sweet Summer. I'll have to take a look, go outside and see what it was called. But it's a new one from Proven Winners. Now it's almost black in some areas, but the bloom is just a tad lighter, so a little more on the mauve side. So I'm just going to add some clear water, and I'm going to make a mauve color. And just, not all of them, but just certain ones I'm just going to put on the tips some of that mauve shade. You can even go outside the lines, that would be fine. Depending on how long the lavender's been in bloom will depend on how many blooms you have. Then I'm going to take that full strength Dioxin Purple, and I'm just going to dab in some, starting at the bottom of each of those little buds, I guess they are. And then take some, while it's still wet, take a wet brush, clean water, and you can just dab the water so it just kind of mingles. So you don't really want any white areas. Take some more of that deep purple while it's still wet. Add a few more dabs here and there on the bottoms of the little ovals. And then let it dry. So I'm going to take my dryer and dry it up. Zoom out. Like that. You're welcome. All right, so now it's even got, you see how dark it is on the, closer to the stem area? So we can either use our pen to put that in, or you can add more darker paint. So you could add a little bit of black, if you have a black paint, into that Dioxin Purple, or just a straight Dioxin without water paint. I'm going to use a pen. So I have these Copic multi-liners here. And I'm going to use two maybe. Yeah, I'm going to use 0.2. And this is good and dry. You got to make sure your page is good and dry. Oh, I forgot to do the flowers there. So we have, wherever there's crossing each other, the stem or the leaves are crossing something, I like to put a little bit of a mark there, or at an intersection between something. Make it a little bit more pronounced. I don't like to put all of the marks in, like outline it. I think it loses its delicate look as far as flowers are concerned when you do that. So I just basically do a sketchy, I guess you could call it. I'm going to do these buds. I know they're really dark, so I'm going to do those. And I'm going to just put that mid-rib in a little bit more. This leaf was kind of on its side facing, so that's why it's thinner looking. And then up here, I can put a little bit more marking in the bud areas because they will be darker. Kathy, please. Okay. So these are very, very quick little, well, you could say they're studies in a way, or just something to document what you saw. It's not necessarily botanical illustration, like scientific botanical illustrated type of work. It's just something to document and something to do, actually. I find this very relaxing, just sketching. Doesn't have to be a work of art that you would hang. Just practice and enjoying yourself, a hobby, something you like to do, or maybe you're practicing because you want to get more accurate in what you're drawing. Whatever it is to you, just have fun with it. So I'm just adding a little bit of really dark areas along those bud areas on the bottom of them. So I'm just putting some lines in, kind of like a shadow. Give a little bit of dimension in the shape by adding that kind of shadowed area. There will be flowers. You can add some little, they're very unusual. I don't know, it's kind of like a little trumpet flower when they come out. So if you want to just do some squiggles here and there. And then we can also take a white pen or colored pencil if you wanted to. To put some little bit of a highlight on some areas. And I'm just going to put some purple in here. These were really dark. Okay. So there's the, it's just very, very, very simple. But it tells you what it is. That's all you need. Now once it's dry, I'll give it another shot. You can take your eraser and see if you can erase any lines that are not painted. So best thing to use is a white eraser or a kneaded eraser. Let's see what I got here. Where did I put my erasers? Oh, there it is. You know, white plastic erasers are really good for this. Then it doesn't take off your, just make sure it's clean. It will take some of the pencil marks off, not completely, but it does help. There. Okay, so now let's put this in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some, I think I'm going to make a sky in here. Now they don't have blue sky, but you can change it the way you want. This is just a reference. So I'm going to take my bigger brush, which is a number 10, with some cerulean blue and a little bit of ultramarine blue. Mix that with the cerulean. Water it down. You don't want it too dark. And I'm just going to put a bit of a sky in here. And I'm going to put the clouds in as I go. So I'm painting around the clouds basically. Spray a little water. And I can take my paper towel here and just dab some of the areas. Okay. And now I want to take the Hooker's green again. And I'm just going to put a bit of, you see here, there's a bit of a hill area or tree line on the top here. So I'm just going to might add a little bit of Hooker's green to that, or not Hooker's green, their number, just to darken that a little bit. Lighten it. Hey, Dorothy. And just take some clear water and blend it out a little bit. Don't want it too bright in this area. Okay, and then let's take some more of that Hooker's green and vary the water amount with each stroke. And I want you to take and just do a bunch of lines. Some tall, cross some, just a bunch of lines. I'm going to spray that and let it bleed out. And then just keep doing it. Add a little bit of raw umber. Make a little bit of a darker color. Here and there. Not as many though. Each time you add umber to your green mix, just add a few. You don't want a whole bunch. And then I'm going to spray that again a little bit. And now I'm going to take my dryer and dry that up. If there's some real wet areas, like puddles, you can just soak them up with your paper towel. That's okay, Sandra. I know. I got pups here. Because I'm working on sketching paper, it's a sketchbook, I have to make sure I dry in between or it'll wreck my paper. But if you're working on watercolor paper, keep going with the greens and spraying it until you get a really nice mix of different colored greens. You pretty well want a lot of this white to be gone in this area. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my big brush again, and this time I'm going to water this green down a little bit. I'm just going to, don't want a lot of paint on my brush. I just want, it's more like a glaze, but I want to get a lot of this green area covered. So with a lot of water on your brush, you can just, it's kind of like a glaze. Just glaze some of that area in where all the whites are. You don't want it really dark, because then it'll be too dark for your lavender to be painted in. but you want some lines to be showing. So you don't want to get rid of those lines. All right, and then I'm going to dry that again. So make sure your papers are good and dry for this next step. All right, now with a smaller brush, I want you to make up a kind of a greenish blue color. And I want to add that to the green. So I'd use the, what is it again? Any kind of a medium blue, whatever you have in your palette. Just want to add a little bit of that blue to your green, to your hooker's green. You want it a little bit on the bluey green side. A little more. There. And then I'm going to take my number 2 and I'm just going to make a few smaller lines with this bluey green color. And they can be different lengths, different widths. You can crisscross some because they're not going to stand up straight and tall. They're not perfect. They're in a field, so they might have a few kinks in them. Remember, we'll be putting flowers on a lot of these, so you don't have to worry about putting the flower on the very top. Now, take a little bit bigger brush, not much bigger. This is a number 8, or a number 6 would work too. And I want you to make up a very watery mix of that Dioxin Purple that we used on this one. But watery, very watery. You don't want it too strong. Dioxin Purple is a very, very strong color, so really water it down. And then you can take your spray bottle, just spray some areas on the top part and add that watery Dioxin Purple to it so that it kind of is misty looking. You don't want a really precise shape. I want this just to be very loose looking. Water it down, spread it out a little bit. Don't make it uniform right across the page though. You want them kind of blotchy looking. If there's any big puddles, soak them up. And then give that a dry. Okay, now you want to do the kind of the same thing, watery, and put another layer on. Water down though. But you want them blotchy. You don't want a uniform bit of color. As you go down, make it a little bit more blotchier and less. Still watered down. Okay. Now, we can put some of that Dioxin Purple, but make sure it's a nice full strength. You want it fairly dark. You can add a little bit of water to it, but you don't want it as watered down as you had it for this. And then with the tip of your brush, pick a stem here. It doesn't matter. The ones that are up front, so they would be the largest ones, so the tallest ones probably. Leave those for last. We're going to just do some of the mid-ranged ones now. And I just want you to take your color and just kind of dance around a stem. There's no real form to them other than you're just dancing around the stem and going down the stem. So do a bunch of those. You can switch up the density of the pigment by adding a little bit more water to it or a little more pigment. Make them lighter or darker. You could spray them a little bit, make them blur out a bit. Some are smaller. When you get back here, you could just put a few marks. You're not going to really see the true form because they would be too far back for you to see. But there would be possibly a shape, like maybe just a few. They would be up at the back part. So maybe just a few lines would work. So that's the dimension. You're seeing just a few distant ones. And they wouldn't be that big, so just small marks. In the mid-range also. Okay. All right, have a good day, Sandra. Okay, then once you're done that, so you can still see through, but you can't really define what they are. So let's give those a dry. Okay, now let's do some more up close. So I'm going to take my smaller brush and I'm going to get some really thick Dioxin Purple. I want it nice and strong. And now pick, so this one here would be one of the up front ones. So what you want to do is start off at the top and just dab. So remember to use the shape of your brush as the shape of the bud. And they go around. Some of them will be pointing towards you, so it would be just a circle, not necessarily that cylinder shape. And remember, some of them have a little space as they go down, and then it starts up again. This one here. Don't worry about the flower part. Like, these are just buds right now, or the bottom part of the flower. We'll add some flowers. You can make some darker, some lighter. So I'm just using some of the background ones we did as part of the flower. So maybe it's the opened flowered ones that are a little lighter, but the stems would be a little bit darker on the flower part. You can put in as many as you want. This is a field, so there's going to be quite a few. This one here. They kind of go around the stem, so but they don't go out too far. They're not a really wide. Let me show you. See, they're not really wide. Now there is a little bit of a brownish color, or you could mix maybe an ochre color in some of the dead areas. Let me show you. You can see that. You could just add a little, just a few dots of those in too. So it'll be just in the up close ones. So just put a few to kind of around the bottom areas. It's kind of like I don't know, they start to die off and they leave a little bit of dry flower in areas. So just put a few of those in. Just gives a little more, just in the ones that are more up front. Don't do the ones that are back. Okay, I think I got that. I'm going to put a few in there too. Just thanks, Dot. All right. Now I'm going to take my bigger brush again and put a little bit of water on it and dip it in that Dioxin Purple, and I'm just gonna, right around the bottom here, I'm just gonna do some dabbing here and there, just to darken that up a little bit. Needed a little bit more in here. Kind of blurred out photography of certain areas. I'll show you. See how this area is kind of, it's too close, so it's out of focus. So you can do that too. Just a little more. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that green blue, put it down here too, just here and there. That we made up. You can just put a little few small strokes just to represent the leaf. Be down in the bottom parts here and see them more. Okay. I love embroidery on the wall, which is French. Oh, awesome, Dot. I'd love to see that. You should post it. Okay, let's give that a dry. I love embroidery. Just haven't had the time. Maybe in the winter I'll get to it more. Oh, please do. I'd love to see it. All right, so we have a little bit of a highlight on some of these too. So if you notice on here, if you notice the ones up close, you see a little bit of a halo of white around the edges because they're kind of they're a little bit on the fuzzy side, I guess you could say. So you can take a colored pencil or a very fine liner pen. If you're not going to be doing any more washes, you could use like a jelly roll, that type of thing. Probably you want something extremely fine though. You don't want it too thick. And there's a little bit on the stems also, a little bit of fuzz. So let's see what we can do here. I think, let's see, I got a Prisma pencil here. And I want it really nice and sharp. And just on the ones that we did, you can just put a little bit of a halo on some of those, just to indicate where they are. Those little buds. Yeah, that looks good. So it doesn't take much. I'm not really pressing very hard. And this will help you with showing the shape that it's going around something. So just the ones that were really up close to you. You don't have to do them all. You could just do a few. If you want, you could look on a reference. This was on Unsplash website. It's a free, royalty-free photograph place for artists to use reference photos. Just type in Lavender Fields and you'll find it. There's all kinds. You don't have to do the one I have. You could do all kinds. If you just want to do lavender, a piece of lavender, you could. A bouquet. There's all kinds of different ones that you can do. See how it just makes it come up front. Just make sure your pencil's good and sharp. And I'm just doing the very tops of those. And you could make the little flowers if you want. This is why I like using just not watercolor, but other mediums with watercolor. Just makes it a little easier. You can make your little flowers too if you wanted to. Put them in. And then we can take some green if you find you don't have enough indication that there's a stem on the ones that are real close up front. You could always use some green colored pencil or gouache if you have it. Would also work. See. Some will be a little more noticeable than others. But the real dark ones you want, that are close up front, you want to make sure you put some of this in. It just gives them that 3D look. This one here, a little bit on. You won't need as much because it's against the sky, so you're not gonna have to do as much. Let's see. This one here, I think. Just a little bit. And then let's look at some of these stems. We can add a little bit of highlight, and I think I'm going to add probably a little more, let's put a little more darker green maybe. I'm going to take that blue green again that we made and adds just a little bit of indication where some of these stems are. Need to be a little bit more pronounced. Now some of them you won't be able to see them all the way down because you'll have other things crisscrossing them in front of them. But a few need it. This one here. This one. We can put some colored pencil into. Okay, let's dry that up a bit. Actually, let's take our marker and make some lines in some of these just to give them a little more definition. And you only have to put a bit in, not too much, because you won't see them like from top to bottom. You only see bits and pieces of them, but that's all you need. then you can just so wherever you find your the ones that are up front, you might want to put a little bit more line in for these, just so that they show up a little bit, so it don't look like they're sitting on nothing. Good, that's good. A few odds and sods here, some lines here and there. And then I think I'm just going to go in some of these areas and just darken at the very base of those really dark spots, if they're just a little bit of a shaded area, at the very base of those spots. You don't have to do them all, just a few, just to show that it's very shaded in there, dark. Just gives them a little more dimension again. This is the part I love to do, is the fine detail. It's kind of like doodling to me. Make some little marks too. Maybe the flower or whatever. Some little doodads sticking out. Every little mark just gives it that much more interest. And you just kind of have to play with it until you find your own style. see, just about done here. A few more. All right. Then I'm going to take a colored pencil, I believe, in a nice green, bluey green color. Let's see. What color? That's a good one. Okay, this one is peacock green. And I'm just going to go down some of these stems here where I put the lines, just to give it a little bit more contrast, to show that that's what they are. Just a smidge. Don't have to go overboard with it. Alrighty, I think I got it. Now, because I didn't do the exact same color as this one, mine are dark like this, so you can change the color up to whatever you want. Change it up. Don't stick with what the photo shows. Sometimes it's nice to have something a little more you, basically. I'm going to put some of this Viridian down the center too. Just a little bit. Maybe a little bit of white here and there. Doesn't have to be down the whole thing, just patches. Look a little nicer than one big line. Looks more organic when you do that. Oh, I missed one there. That can be green. They can be different colors too. Won't be all the same. And then I think let's put a little bit of that. Where did I put it? A little bit of this in this too. That's that Viridian, I think, what is it called? Peacock green. Just a bit. And then a little bit of that halo around these, just a smidge. Make some lighter areas where those, there. All right, I think that's it. So there it is. So very simple, and you're just emphasizing just a few that are right up in front. The rest are kind of blurred out, like a photograph of from a photographer that took it. So it's very simple. Give that a try. It's really simple. It's pretty hard to make a mistake because it's just dabs and blotches, really. So I hope you'll give it a try. And try it on both scrapbook paper, or not scrapbook paper, sketch paper and watercolor paper. You'll see a real difference between the two. And you may find you don't like the sketchbook paper. You can always put your drawings that you do on watercolor paper into a sketchbook, like I did on this. This is watercolor paper here, and I just glued it into the book. So you could do that too. There's no rules to this. It's a sketchbook. It's your sketchbook, and you do it the way you want to do it. You don't have to show anybody. This is just practice for you. And it's a great thing to look back in later on to see how you progressed in your watercolor or drawing or whatever you're doing. So I hope you'll try it. And I have tons of floral pictures on my Instagram. That's Kathy Arbour on Instagram. So you're more than welcome to go and download those and use them for your drawing. Great, Oma. Awesome. Yeah, just play with it. It's something that is very relaxing, stress-free, especially when it's in a sketchbook or a watercolor sketchbook. You don't need to show it to anybody. It's just for you to play with. So I hope you try this out and just enjoy the process. That's what I say. Have a great day, everybody. And all my members, the videos and the live streams will be up on Saturday. And for the level 2, the budding artist, your video will be up on Monday. So look forward to seeing you there, and we'll talk to you later. Have a fantastic day, everybody.